My hat! Alright, so let's see, I'm gonna wait. First, I forgot to weigh it. Let's see, 1347, so 1347, 46, 47, alright. So now I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run it without the body, and I'll tell you why later. Alright, so it is zeroed out. Forgot to change the channel on the transmitter. Alright, let's try it again. Nope, that's not it. There we go. All right, so 44 kilometers per hour. Let me try to reset it. .45 kilometers per hour. And we're just gonna have to wait just a small little bit. There's a few cars that are coming. So if we get another 44, I'll just take the 44. If we get a 45, I'll just do the 45. It's probably just a matter of distance. Alright, so 44. I'll take the 44. Now, we're going to do these little short burst. Alright, so we're going from here for where the tree is. That's about 10 feet. Oh, I guess I changed something so it didn't record. Let me go back in. All right, there we go. All right, so we're looking at about 30 kilometers per hour. Let me try it again. I did it again. There we go. All right. Oh, I see what happened. So when I'm pressing set because of the Velcro. So I'm not running the body because the body that has the Velcro on it doesn't fit because it's a 190 millimeter body, and VTA bodies are generally 200 millimeters because of the rear tires, so it rubs. All right, so we got 30 again. So we'll take those two 30s. Now I'm going to do about double the distance. Alright, so we're looking at 37. And 37. So let's go ahead and do the swap and try it all over again. All right, here we go. So we're at 1347. So we're at the same mass level. So I'll go ahead and turn this on and zero everything out. All right, zeroed out. All right, the wind is picking up, but I don't think it's that much. So we're at 45 kilometers per hour. Zero it out one more time. All right, so we're at 45. And 45, so we got 45 consistently. So let's try the short runs. All right, so we are 0. All right, we're at 31. Let's try it again. All right, 30. Uh, 32. All right, let me do it again. That says 32. All right, 31. So I'll take the 31. Let's do the longer one. $39. $38. And 38. Now, one thing to note though is I did forget to recharge the battery to set it to peak. That may or may not have made a difference, but we're at 38. All right, so we're gonna do the shorts. Here we go. All right, so we're at 30. $31. I'm gonna do it one more time. Alright, this fell out. So it's about the same, 30. Could do it another time. Well, let me do another run. It says 32. I'm gonna keep the 30. I'll do the long one. All right, 40. $39. We'll do one more. And 40, so I'll go with the 40. And let's do the long runs. $48. That's a big difference. I stopped a little early. Let's see what happens. 47, still pretty good. All right, so let's do another run. And that looks zeroed out. And 47, I'll take the 47. At the end. Now, before doing the test runs, I had already taken the data from the two motors. So the top is the Team Powers Antinium V3. Again, this is the previous model, but that's the one I had. And then we have the Trinity X Factor. The ones I really want to compare are these in matching colors. But before I do that, with this motor, the Trinity, I did do some extra runs, but I did that on purpose, mainly because Trinity advertises this motor at 1,350 kV at 0 timing. So I went ahead, took the end bell, placed it at 0. It actually read 5-degree average, 7, 4, and 5.
at 1504 kVs. So if I were to actually try and put it at 0 and just zero it out, it would more than likely be close to that 1350 that Trinity is advertising. So I'm going to take that number as a good, reliable number for their adverts. Now, we can ignore the RPMs here. This is just the voltage based on the battery. The voltage can vary depending on which battery I was using or the charge that I was using at the time. That's why you see the difference here. There was a difference in the battery that I used. This was sort of a last minute one. I was just curious and wanted to have one that was close in timing to this one to have another set to compare. But if we look at this one, we have 44-degree timing, 43. If we look at the timing intervals, they're very similar. The spread here is larger, but it's still acceptable. But if we look at these, the kV, there's a significant difference in kV between these. We're looking at 202, so just over 200 kV difference. If we ignore the RPMs here based on the analyzer, because they're going to depend on this voltage, and we just take the kV and multiply it by, say, 7.4, that's the difference in RPM. So there is about a 4% increase in the Trinity X factor as far as RPM. Now keep in mind that this is peak. Now if we look at the blue, we're looking at 50 degrees versus 51 degree timing. And again, you can see the spread here, comparison. What we find is that there's a greater kV difference here in this range. So we're looking at 2116 kV, which is a 14% increase. Sorry, I said kV, I meant RPM. So there's an RPM increase of 14%. Here's the kV, and over here we have about a 3% if we bump up the timing to 54, 55, somewhere around there. So the lower the kV or higher, so once we start going far above this number, it doesn't seem to really affect it that much, probably because of the loss in efficiency. If we look at this here at 54, it's drawing 7.4 amps. This one's drawing 9 amps. Now I have run this motor 25.5 at this amp draw. It's such a high turn motor that with a fan, it manages. You're going to get close to the temperature threshold, but it'll still manage, right? If you don't want to exceed 150, you can run it here on a normal day. Now by normal, I mean normal where we generally go. If you have weather that's over 50 degrees Celsius or over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that's a different story. This is not going to work for you. But if we look at these over here, these are more efficient, right? 5.7, 5.7. This is where the big difference is. And your motors will run very well in many weather conditions with a fan here. And that's where the difference is. So the Trinity X factor at peak, this is all peak, does outperform the Team Powers without load. Now if we put load, put it in a car, same exact car with the same mass as you saw when I weighed the vehicles, they had the same mass. The Trinity X factor is a little lighter than the Team Powers Antinium. I had to add weight to the car, which I was surprised. But when you actually run them, keeping the same final drive ratio, which is a 3.5, that's where it got interesting, because if we start in reverse order, short burst, it didn't really make a difference. So Team Powers is the very top row, and then the Trinity is the bottom. We see here the short distance that we were running. We ran 30 kilometers per hour versus 31 versus 30. So the Team Powers X factor at 50 degree timing performs better at that short burst. But once we approximately double the distance, we are looking at now 27.3, 28, and 29.2. So the Trinity with the higher timing will do better in the long run. So it does have the RPMs, but it doesn't have a significant amount of torque off the line. Maybe if I change the final drive ratio, that's a possibility, but usually everybody's supposed to run a 3.5. So the final drive ratio is going to stay the same. So it's really timing that you can play with, but only on the motor and not the ESC. But if we look at top speed, that is where the difference is. So if we look at the top speed, team power is 44 versus 45, Trinity X factor at 50. So there isn't much difference here. But once we go to 50-degree timing, to match that timing, that's where we see a 3-kilometer increase. So we're looking at 2% increase here, and then a 7% increase over here, which is quite a bit, And these numbers are close to these percentages. Well, actually they're reversed, but 2 to 4, I can see that. 7, this one was actually surprising because it's only a 3% difference there, but over here it manifested as a 7. So the X factor is a revving motor. It definitely is a revving motor. Now over here, the long distance, what I'm calling the long distance, which isn't really that long, as you could see in the video, it's under 20 feet. So you're looking at 3% increase versus 8% increase. But once we go into the short distance, there isn't any difference between these two, and you're actually, you really get an increase by decreasing the timing. So it seems that decreasing the timing will give you a little better low end torque for your motor, so you can take off. And so the reason why I'm making that statement that will give you better low end torque is for the following reason. If the final gear ratio, all the gears, everything is the same on the vehicle, tires, etc., but the only difference is the timing, and you manage to accelerate quicker to a certain speed, that means you have more torque. You could say, well, doesn't that mean you have more power? Remember, power, whether you measure it in kilowatts or horsepower, for example, let's use horsepower, that's more common. It's dependent on torque. It's just torque times RPM. That's the reason. So that being said, this is the data. As far as now, it really depends on track conditions. So next time I take this car out, I have to see if it's a slow track, I will probably just go with a lower timing. If it's a fast track, I will probably go with a higher timing. Or I could keep the higher timing as long as the motor doesn't overheat, which I do not expect it to overheat. Then I'll probably just keep the higher timing so I can make up some time on the straight. That's a possibility, because at really short distances, it's not going to make a difference. Really short distances, you will not make a difference for you. If you're looking at a little burst of maybe 1, 2, 3 meters, it will not make a difference. You're looking at, say, 3, 6, 9 feet. Once you start going beyond those distances, then it'll start making a difference. So I may end up just keeping this timing just for the straightaway. But that being said, this is the data. Thank you so much for watching.